So I have a legitimate question. Is it Stauch or Stauch? Seriously, I thought I would learn the true pronunciation of that last name once trial started and I heard Letecia's defense attorney. But today, when I was listening to opening statements, I heard him say it both ways. So now I need someone to tell me in the comments how to actually pronounce the last name. Anyway, as promised, I am back to give you the cliff notes of Letecia Stauch's trial that began on Monday, April 3rd with opening statements. Here's the skinny. Letecia has pled not guilty by reason of insanity. And with that in mind, here goes. District Attorney Michael Allen kicked off opening statements by rushing straight into the question of insanity. He told the jurors that one of the most important questions they would have to determine was whether Letecia was suffering from a mental defect at the time she committed the murder. DA Allen, in essence, told the jury that first-degree murder was a specific intent crime, meaning that Letecia had to specifically intend to kill Gannon. But Allen told the jury that they would prove that Letecia did have the intent to commit the murder at the time that she did commit the murder. But Allen said that they would prove that Letecia was of sound mind and that she could form the specific intent required for murder. Allen said that this case is about two people and two people only. Gannon, who had no say in the matter, and his stepmother, Letecia. The attorney described that Gannon was a preemie weighing in at 1.5 pounds at birth. The attorney said Gannon was a fighter. Then he jumped straight into the day before Gannon was murdered, January 26, 2020. The DA played a video published by TMZ where Letecia is heard confronting Gannon about burning something. She's like, "You didn't do this on purpose, did you?" And Gannon is heard sobbing on the video, saying he didn't do it on purpose and he's worried about his burn. Then the DA lays out the evidence almost the same exact way that they did in the arrest affidavit. And I am going to link the video that I posted about a recap of the arrest affidavit. I'm going to link it either here or here. It's going to be somewhere on the screen. So if you're interested in all that, make sure that you watch that video. The jury heard that before Letecia killed Gannon on Monday, January 27th, she snapped a picture of him laying in bed. And this picture will become relevant later. Then, later that day, Letecia stabbed Gannon 18 times. I repeat, 18 times. Gannon suffered many defensive wounds, showing that he fought till the end. Then, Letecia hit Gannon over the head with a blunt force object, and then she shot at him 3 times. Twice she missed, but once she hit him right in the jaw, but the bullet hit him in the jaw and lodged in the back of his head. The DA presented a picture of Gannon's room after he went missing, and on this picture they had markers to indicate all the places in Gannon's room, on the wall, on the bed, on the floor, where they found Gannon's blood. He showed pictures of the utility room where he believed Letecia stuffed Gannon's body into a suitcase and hid him in that room. Also in that utility room, they showed pictures where they found blood on certain items in that room. He presented briefly the 911 call where Letecia admitted that she was the last person to see Gannon before she reported him missing. The DA presented to the jury that there was some evidence that was missing that raised many questions. Things such as the clothing that Letecia wore when she reported Gannon missing. Never found. The shell casings from the spent bullets. Never found. The object used to stab Gannon 18 times. Never found. But what they did have was the GPS tracker from Letecia's car. That GPS tracker took investigators to a remote area north of Letecia's house. In that area, when they searched, they did find a piece of wood that had Gannon's blood on it. It was later determined that that piece of wood came from the Stauch garage. They had proof that Letecia rented a van, put Gannon's body in a suitcase into the van, and then road tripped to Florida. They presented a map of Letecia's road trip. Then they told the jury that Gannon's body was discovered in a suitcase under a bridge in Florida. During opening statements, the jury got to see pictures of the items that were in the suitcase with Gannon. Items including blankets and a pillow. And when they showed a side-by-side picture of what was in the suitcase with Gannon and the picture that Letecia took earlier that day before he was dead, the items were identical. The DA told the jury that they would hear evidence that Letecia told various stories about what happened to Gannon, who kidnapped him, what happened to him, who was the last person to see him. She had so many different versions of what happened. She even presented a theory that she thought that Gannon's mother, Landon, was somehow involved with his disappearance. The DA presented a short list of people that the jurors could expect to hear from. They could expect to hear from Al Stauch, that was Gannon's father and Letecia's ex-husband. They would also hear from Letecia's brother, and they would also hear from Harley Hunt. Now, Harley is Letecia's biological daughter. Many of you have asked in my video, hey, did Harley know exactly what was going on because she road tripped with Letecia? Did she know that Gannon's body was in the back of that van? And well, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that we will hear from her at trial. The DA told the jury that the burden was on them to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Letecia killed Gannon, and they were game for that. They said, we're not only going to prove that she killed him, but we're going to prove that she did so deliberately and intentionally. The defense soon got up to give their opening statement, and their opening statement was given by Mr. Will Cook. And as soon as he got up, you could tell he was defeated. He had this defeatist personality, which maybe that's kind of a character he's playing, but maybe it's not. He told the jury that he knew they hated him. He read the questionnaires and he knew that they thought his client was evil and guilty. He also knew that Letecia had been tried and convicted by the court of public opinion. But he reminded the jury that we have laws, we have the Constitution, we have the Bill of Rights, and we have all those things for a reason. And all he was asking the jury to do was to treat the court with fairness and dignity. If they did that, he would consider this a successful trial. Mr. Cook didn't sugarcoat it. He said that the DA's version of events, in accordance with their opening statement, that was just the PG version. He told them that this case was horrendous. What happened to Gannon Stauch was horrendous. And then as he's talking to the jury, he just starts leaving. He starts walking towards the back of the courtroom as if he's going to leave. But then he comes back. He told the jury, I should quit, but I'm not going to quit because it is my duty to represent Letecia. He told the jury that they would hear from hundreds of witnesses and that they would receive over 800 pieces of evidence. But what he said was nuts about this case was how Letecia went from being a loving mother, a loving stepmother, a teacher, and then he threw up a picture of Letecia and Gannon and his sister the day before the murder. And then he was like, how do you go from being this, literally living the American dream, to killing a young boy? And that's when he started to briefly tell the story of Letecia Stauch's upbringing. Letecia's mom was an absentee mom with a revolving door of boyfriends. Most of the men were abusive, but not just towards mom, also towards Letecia. It all began when she was a toddler, first with physical and emotional abuse, and then it turned into sexual abuse. And then Mr. Cook dropped a diagnosis. He said that Letecia suffered from fragmented personality, aka dissociative identity disorder. Dissociative identity disorder, or DID for short, according to the Cleveland Clinic, someone with DID has multiple distinct personality. The various identities control a person's behavior at different times. The condition can cause memory loss, delusions, or depression, and DID is usually caused by past trauma. Before wrapping up, the defense attorney told the jury that they were going to be there probably for 8 weeks. They should anticipate being there up until Memorial Day weekend. But they were not to come to a decision until the case was closed and they were going to deliberate. One thing the defense attorney told the jury that they wouldn't hear during those 8 weeks was about a motive, because in his opinion, there was no motive. He also understood that that was the part that was most going to upset the jury. They were going to want to hold someone accountable for Gannon's death. But he said that when Letecia did what she did, she wasn't all there. She wasn't there at all. He said that when Letecia killed Gannon, she wasn't killing Gannon. She was killing the darkness in her past. His exact words were, she was killing the demons from the darkness of her childhood. He said in essence that by finding Letecia not guilty by reason of insanity, Letecia would be paying for what she did. However, she wouldn't be in a regular prison. She would be committed to a state mental institution. The defense attorney then made one last request. He asked the jury to keep an open mind. And before he sat down, he told them he was running out of steam. Now, that last part, why did he have to say that? He shouldn't have said that, because it just seems a little weak, in my opinion. After opening statements, the jury heard from the judge, and they got kind of a play-by-play about what was going to go on from then on. The judge also gave them their daily schedule, or what to anticipate. And here it is for anyone who wants to follow along on the Law and Crime Network. The judge told the jury that trial will begin every day promptly at 9 a.m. In the morning, they would have a 15-minute break, and they would break for lunch at noon. They would come back between 1:15 and 1:30 and pick up where they left off. They would have another 15-minute break sometime in the afternoon, and every day they would break right around 5 p.m. And with that, the jury was dismissed. After the jury was dismissed, the district attorney did stand up and formally dismiss one of the original charges. During the court hearing, Letecia sat furthest away from the jury. She had her hair down, and according to reports, she used her hair to cover half of her face. She rarely spoke, and if she did, it was to talk to her attorney. Seated in the gallery were Gannon's parents, but the opening statements seemed too much to handle because at some point, Landon, who's Gannon's mom, had to step out of the courtroom. Judge Gregory Warner is the preceding judge, and you can tell that he will have excellent control of his courtroom. All right, everyone, that was a wrap-up of day 1 of Letecia's trial. Day 2 will begin on April 4th, and the prosecution will promptly call their first witness. I will try to make my next video with a synopsis of days 2 through 5, so be sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss my cliff notes of Letecia's trial. All right, bye.